Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining tonight's edition, HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and I'll be supported today by a colleague, a friend, a sister, Fatima Nasiru, and of course, anyone and everyone is willing to join and contribute into this conversation. Tonight, we'll be looking at a topic, Islamic perspectives on human resource management. All right, we'll be looking at how Islam can and should affect human resource management. Just by way of a fun fact, I had my first degree, University of Ilorin, and in my 100 level, my year one, we were 8 in a room. 4 of us were Christians, 4 of us were Muslims. And that's perhaps one of the best years of my life. 4 Christians, 4 Muslims. Of course, it was a random selection by the school management. There was no intentionality with respect to pairing people up on the basis of religion. I remember during that particular year, during the Muslim fast, Ramadan, like the one that just ended, when the Muslims in the room wake up very early to make their food, they will cook for us, the Christians, even though the Christians will say, oh, we are not eating, or we will eat much later. I say, well, we've cooked. If you want to keep it and eat later. And like I also remember very vividly, during the holidays, in between the first and second semester, and after the first session, I actually spent time with 2 or 3 of the Muslim families. And the kind of warmth and hospitality I received from them as a Christian is unprecedented. Of course, I lost count the number of Wilimots and stuff that I attended in Ilorin and subsequently thereafter. Just to also mention that like around 50% of my family members, both sides, are Muslims. And I think that's one privilege people from Southwest Nigeria have. On the average, you will have a good blend and you will see to some extent how progressive we are, because one, we understand and appreciate the 2 major religions and the other religions also as it were. Let me also just quickly share this fun fact. And like Peter Obi will say, you can go and verify. All right. The first professor of Arabic language and literature, okay, in Nigeria is actually a Christian. His name is Isaac Adejoju Ogunbiyi, and he became a professor, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1984 from Lagos State University. All right. In fact, when they did a book or a special book in his honor, the title of the special book in his honor was Unfamiliar Guest in a Familiar Household. Look at the title of the book, Unfamiliar Guest, because in quote he was a Christian in a familiar household. The familiar household now was in the field of Arabic and Islamic study. And why are we doing this? And why am I doing this? Again, I see that as human resource practitioners, we must be very conscious of all our stakeholders. So our stakeholders, for example, from management to employee to the regulator to the customer, clients, the neighbors, and so on and so forth. In Nigeria, give or take, depending on which part of the country you are. So if, for example, you are in maybe a place like Kano or Sokoto or Katsina, you may have a predominant Muslim community. What if the organization today posts you as a Christian, if you're a Christian, or as a Muslim, to the north as HRBP Northern Region? You cannot maximally adequately provide support to a people you don't understand or you don't appreciate, or everything you know is hearsay or them say, or you didn't even bother to find out anything. Or let's even say you are in Lagos, for example, or in Ibadan or Osogbo, and the owner of your business, I mean the owner, founder, is a Muslim. You see, if you understand and appreciate Islam, some of his thought patterns, decision patterns, characteristics will stem directly and indirectly from the fact that he's a Muslim. And one of the privileges I have had as an HR practitioner is the fact that I've worked for a Christian, including like a pastor. I've worked for a Muslim, I've worked for a Yoruba man, I've worked for an Hausa man, I've worked for an Igbo man, and I've seen how different culture, religion have a bearing on some of the things we do. Now, human resource management in Islam is deeply rooted in ethical, spiritual, and justice-oriented principles. Of course, these principles are derived from Quran is a key major source, the Sunnah, or what we call prophetic traditions, and also from the Islamic jurisprudence. So you can see multiple sources: Quran, Sunnah, and then Islamic jurisprudence. A major dichotomy or difference between the human resource management from an Islamic perspective and human resource management from a, let me use the word secular now, okay, because the opposite of Islam is not Christianity. Do you understand? From the secular is that typically HR in the secular or maybe capitalist society, for example, if you are tilted towards the West, Europe, and the likes, is more hinged and based on profit maximization. So we want to make profit, profit, profit. And sometimes that profit orientation is so heavy, it can be at the expense of almost anything and everything. However, in Islamic human resource management, it emphasizes employee wellness, fairness, and moral responsibility. Let me tell a brief story very quickly. I won't mention names, even though what I'm saying is a good and positive thing, but because I didn't get its nonsense. So I used to work with a particular Muslim founder and owner of the business. So it was, owner manager. In this part of the world, we use this local, I would say one-man business. I think I worked with him for 18 months or 2 years, that range. I think 18 months. In the process of working with him for that, after my first year, I got first runner-up employee of the year awards. Then I got a bigger job, bigger organization, bigger package, everything. So I enjoyed working tremendously with this organization and for this Muslim boss. And when I was leaving, I went to meet him, gave him my offer letter, asked for his blessings, everything. Said, wow, that he really enjoyed working with me. He would have wished for me to stay, but looking at the offer I have on, and if I was his brother or his son, he would encourage me to work. Fast forward, that month ended. I served my notice period. I joined the organization. I was paid like every other staff. Then 1 month after, clear 1 month after, I think on the 25th or so, I just got a credit alert. Not only was it a credit alert from my former organization, it was like ×2 or a little above ×2 of my monthly account. So I felt, what kind of temptation is this? I felt the account department, for one reason or the other, did not remove my name from the payroll. And then, but the other confusion is, okay, even if you forgot to remove my name from the payroll, where is this money exactly ×2 of my salary? Then I reached out to the CFO to say, please, see what happened, though. Send me company accounts. Let me quickly transfer. He said, no. It's not a mistake. I said, what happened? He said the MD said, as gracias, that they should give me. I'm saying this, God is my witness. If not the best MD I've ever worked with, is a Muslim. And incidentally, he's also a lawyer, and one thing is, he is very just. Of course, one of the little challenges I had working with him and for him is that while I was there, we never sacked one person. He will always, how do I explain this? So, because of this social, like it's God that created the person, that, there's this almost empathy to a fault that, if we sack him now, what will his children eat? As in, the consideration he had for people, it was because of my understanding of Islam. I would have almost wanted to say, sir, why are you this weak? Is this a charitable organization? So this is just by way of introduction. Fatima, I don't know if you want to say anything very at this point. Again, there's no special time to say anything. You can say anything anytime. But I feel if you want to say something now in this
All right,
introductory
sure.
part, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks, sister. Well said. Really, in fact, this what you said really resonates, and um, I'm happy that it's coming from a non-Muslim, because sometimes if a Muslim is saying, it feels like no, no, there's something about it too. One thing I experienced from my former, in fact, my first official work experience, was the chairman was a Muslim, and I experienced so much loyalty that I used to feel like, why is this? She's a female. Why is this woman loyal to a fault? So that's something I also learned from her, being a Muslim and a leader. Loyalty, and was something that was with me. And unconsciously, I just think even employees pay back, because I have people that have worked there 20 years, and they like, I knew when I was leaving, I felt like, oh God, I was feeling guilty. So that's something, one of the characteristics too. Aside compassion, empathy, there's this spirit of loyalty too that comes with it. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. You know, if anybody or any Muslim on the call wants to contribute, all you need to do at any point is please raise your hands and I will unmute you or give you access. If some few Muslims I can identify, I've already given you permission as co-host in case you want to say something. And I see, for example, my sister, uh, my sister on the call here went to University of Illinois together. I see my sister Kudirat Malik Abdul Majid. Because of Kudirat, let me just hear this story. There's another Muslim sister of mine. We're in the same class, University of Illinois. So, when you leave school and so on and so forth. So just about a year ago, I had to go and do something in Illinois. Then went to greet my sister. That's Azizat. And we saw. And then we moved towards each other. Then we froze. Then we went apart. Then she said, it feels so unnatural not to hug. And we laughed. And we moved on. Till tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, because I schooled in Illinois, I never stretched my hand first to a woman. That growing up in Illinois conditioned me and cultured me. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on, that's just on the right hand. So in no particular order, all right, the first thing I like to quickly share with respect to some of the key principles from Islam that is very useful, completely relevant to human resource management is the principle of justice and fair treatment. You can already allude to it from some of my opening remarks, comments, and some of the stories I've shared already quickly. Now, you see, the Quran commands us that we must be what? Just. For justice is closest to piety. Just for like 15 seconds, 30 seconds, reflect on that. Okay? Justice is what? Is closest to piety. So piety is almost like, in my own layman, almost like holiness. Please, you can chime in, ladies and gentlemen. I will say another word for piety, okay, will be like holiness. And look at what is closest to it: justice. Justice. So the principle of equal pay for equal work. For example, things like paying people, being biased by either gender. Maybe you have a man and a woman, and you are paying the man more than the woman for the same level of work is prohibited. Or maybe a difference in tribe or culture, any kind of discrimination, especially if you are now attaching compensation to it. Again, because of this principle, it's very important to have transparent performance evaluation. Favoritism, nepotism is strongly discouraged in Islam. And you will see, again, and I'm saying this very respectfully, it will seemingly appear that Muslims are less tolerant of injustice than other people. Not my choice of word. I said seemingly appear. And this is one of the reasons, because as a people, by their upbringing and culture, they too, they try their best to be just to other people. So, when you are, for example, nice to other people and other people now want to cheat you, something you will like, what's this? We don't met this kind of treatment out. We don't deserve this kind of things. So, employers must what? Treat employees fairly in wages, in promotions, for example, and disciplinary actions. Again, let me cite an example of one of the Muslim owner manager I worked with. So when we were trying to, there was a particular time we were trying to like increase salary. So the way most organizations work. If, for example, this hypothetical now, maybe you say do a 30% increment across board. If you do 30% for senior people, because their salary is already high. So, and he said, look, so let's give the senior people, for example, 10% salary increase, middle people, 20%. Then the people at the base of the pyramid in the organization, 40%. In fact, it is why working in pay for lower people as business. Most people try to either some of those kind of things. It was always, his own understanding of minimum wage. It's not minimum wage, it's living wage. He will call me, he will say, Oluyemi, look, this man, assuming he has 4 children, say, let's calculate. If they eat bread, 1 loaf of bread each in the morning, how much is that? If they use beans to eat, do you get that kind of level? Fair wages. So please, if you promise them something, fulfill it. And it doesn't matter whether it is a verbal commitment or written commitment. And again, I know this is when we're talking HR, sometimes the temptation to assume that we are only speaking for formal settings may occur. But please, so even if you have a nanny, house boy, that's Musa, that your aboki, please. It may look unlearned, but it is learned because at least it's learned in Quranic citation. So it may not be learned from the typical Western education. It's learned, I insist. And they know what fair is fair is. So don't joke about maybe, oh, I will compensate you with this if you do this. They will remember. And please fulfill your what? Fulfill your promise or your commitment or your part of the bargain. It doesn't matter who they are, their status, whether extremely wealthy or people at the bottom of the pyramid. So justice and fair treatment, very important. Again, if you like to say anything, raise your hands, contribute at any point. Let me see. Fatima, do you have anything to say before I move on to the next slide, please?
No, well said, sir. Nothing. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Hearing your voice is soothing. The second concept that I'll be speaking on very quickly is dignity and respect. Dignity and respect. You see, the Islamic principle here, look at what Prophet said. I won't call his name out of respect. The Prophet said, your,
Hello,
work,
Alaihi Wasallam.
your workers are your brothers. Just look at that statement alone. Very strong. Your workers or your employees are your what? Brothers. Allah, in other words, God, has placed them under your care. Again, I need us to ponder on that. So again, I'm taking this just beyond the formal organization. It doesn't matter whether this person is your house help, your driver, your gate man, or somebody that just came to do a 2-day project in your house. Maybe you are running a construction site, you are doing manual labor. Your workers are your what? Brothers. If you want to be more inclusive now, we'll say are your brothers and your sisters. Allah has placed them what? Under your care. So you are the boss or you are the management. but you are a steward. You are just in a, so to speak, a privileged position. And as you are thinking of solving your personal problems, you should also be thinking of how to help your workers, your employees, solve their problem. And when you have this kind of mindset, what happens? There is a way you will work harder and get the team to work harder so that the needs can be met. So inclusive leadership is very key. Managers must learn to what? Listen to employee concerns very respectfully. You need to listen. Today we'll say employees should have a voice, and voice is not just to talk. Listen very respectfully. And of course, it's not everything everybody says that you can do or you can implement, but let them know that they've been heard and provide polite, positive feedback. So certain words, you shouldn't use it on people. Oh, you are stupid. Oh, that's very dumb. Please. That is very disrespectful. And any humanity will appreciate all these principles. It's not exclusive reserve of any group of people. Again, it supports a mental health, reasonable workload. Look at that word, reasonable workload, okay, and work-life balance. All these align with Islamic values. Yes, would there be sometimes windows or seasons where the workload will be excessive? Yes, but it shouldn't be every day, all the time. And it shouldn't be as a result of poor planning or poor scheduling. You understand what I mean? So that may be, for example, if you're in account, maybe the last 2 or 3 days of the month or the quarter, maybe because of certain things you are doing, but not that every blessed day. No, check the workload. Check that there is reasonable work-life balance. If you need to bring on board, for example, casual workers or interns, with a view to ameliorate or redistribute work. Some people from some other teams or departments can join on an ad hoc basis. Again, it's very important that Islamic ethics mandates zero, emphasis on zero tolerance for abuse. Zero tolerance for abuse. And let me say this here again, and this is one of the reasons why eventually I decided to take this course, even though I'm a Christian. Because again, sometimes if a practitioner of a religion is saying something, your mind can be saying, what else would you say? And that's not the concept here, because it's not a faith teaching. So there's this anomaly. I am sure on this call, maybe you've heard of a situation of maybe a woman or a man that went to maybe Kuwait or Oman or those places, and maybe they were maltreated. Please, again, don't speak, but just put it in the chat box. I just want to check something. If you've heard of maybe a man or a woman who went to maybe like the Middle East to go and work, and maybe they were maltreated. Now, while I'm waiting for your responses, one of the things I've seen is that maybe if 10 people go, for example, 8 or 9 will be treated very well, but there will be no story around it. That one will not go viral. There will be no broadcast. That person will not be saying that, look at me now, look at my host, they are treating me well. But the 1 or 2 that go Ori for peculiar reasons, or just like there are bad people anywhere in the world, then people tend to magnify that information and that message, and then they will now make it look like it is the entire tribe or the entire religion. No, we have, so to speak, mentally delusional people everywhere in the world. So don't take an isolated case and pin it on the family or pin it on the tribe or pin it on the culture. By the grace of God, I've been to Morocco. By the grace of God, I've been to Egypt. I have friends today that are from Iran, Iraq, as in my friends. I have friends from Algeria, men and women. I have friends that are Lebanese. Ladies and gentlemen, some of these people are the most warm. You will almost think you are in paradise already, relating with them. So Islamic ethics mandates what? Zero tolerance for abuse. And also watch this. If you have some Muslim staff in your team or your department or your organization, sometimes when the abuse is not affecting them, you will see that they will try to fight for other people. They don't have anything to lose or gain, no, but merely seeing another person being cheated, you will see them, they want to voice out. They want to voice out. I just enabled my brother and friend to speak. Wally, my brother, long time. Please, you can unmute and speak, please.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Adeosun and the co-host for bringing this topic on board for us to learn and also to relearn in our HR practice. Islamic perspective to HRM practice is something that cut across all the aspects of HR value chain. Let us take it from recruitment. What does Islam say when it comes to recruitment? Islam has an approach to recruitment, and that is why there is an aspect of the Quran that Allah the Almighty emphasizes much on trust, which is amana Arabic terminologies I am familiar with. So amana in short simply means trust. And when we do recruitment and we give a role to a candidate, we are entrusting, we are placing a trust on that candidate. That is why the role candidate. And of course, in our recruitment process, it is expected that every organization must inculcate equal employment opportunity in the recruitment process. This is one of the teachings of Islam that for every role that will be given to anybody, such person must be competent, capable, and be able to deliver on that role. Not only that, it must be there must be room for anybody of any race, any tribe, any religion, or wherever such person might be from, to be able to apply and then contest for such role. And that is what Islam has made us to understand when it comes to entrusting or placing trust on people for a role in any organization. And that is why we can as well bring that understanding of what Islam says about trust, as well as freedom for people of any race, religion, or regardless of their differences, to be able to vie for a position benefit now. In Islam, there is a saying of the Prophet that says, do not let the sweat before you pay him. What does that mean? It means that pay people at the right time. Don't delay salary payments if you have made agreement with them on their offer letters or whatever contract of employment they might have signed with you. Whatever date is made on that letter is when their salaries should be paid. And should there be any reason that the organization is not able to meet up with that commitment, there should be communication so that both parties can be can have a mutual understanding of why there would be delay or whatever. And let us look at other aspects of payroll now. We look at how should salary be paid. Equal pay for equal work is what has always been advocated by Islamic teachings, that pay people based on what they are due, and also do not shortchange people when you are paying people, do not change them. I'm a product of ABU. I want to recall some experiences or some experiences I witnessed during my days in ABU. We used to have one lecturer. Any day in the month that he failed to register his presence in the university community, he would inform the finance department to deduct that day from his salary. So we will now be wondering, how come? Because it's not all the time that we will have lectures in a week, but he will say it is a trust, that if he betrayed that trust before God. So that is one aspect of understanding why the not only the employer but the employee too should not shortchange the organization. So as we advise or as we encourage organizations to ensure that employees are paid what they are worth, the employees too should not shortchange organization. So basically, that is Islamic perspective on compensation and benefit. Now, let's talk about performance management. There are different models of performance management in different organizations. Some use goal settings, some use balance scorecard, depending on the level of for instance, for management staff, we might want to use balance scorecard. No, there are other models of performance management. But what does Islam say when it comes to evaluating employee? It is the teachings of Islam that let people know how they will be evaluated. There is an aspect of the Quran that says, "Ikra kitabaka kafa binafsika liyawma alayka asiba," which means everybody shall be called on the day of judgment to account for what they did, and each person will on himself will be able to judge himself based on how he has fared. What does that mean? Almighty God has already laid it bare to us how we should live our life and what will be the consequence when we fail to, comply to his injunction, and what will be the consequence if we follow his injunction. So, what am I saying? Similar analogy can be deployed to performance management. When we have a performance planning stage where the line manager and the employee meet I'm talking about, let's say we have a goal setting performance management framework. We have the employee and the line manager, they meet to agree on the targets that the employee will achieve during the performance life cycle. And from time to time, the employee and the line manager checks to know if the employee is achieving those targets that have been set. And if there are, issues or there are challenges, the line manager can deploy interventions to help the employee to ensure that the employee has the required competencies to achieve those goals. So during the appraisal period, the line manager carries out appraisal, and if the employee exceeds the target, is rewarded, maybe salary increments, or is given a promotion depending on the performance management policy in place. So similar thing is same thing is with Islam, where when we die, we are raised up to account for what we did. If we did well, we have a reward for it. And if we fail to do what God wants, there is punishment for it. So same thing is applicable to performance management. Performance management should be open, it should be transparent. The process should be transparent so that employees will know what they will get at the end of the performance life cycle. So don't let me bore us on too much on that. Now, that's performance management. Let us go to learning and development. Learning and development is a critical aspect of HR, especially when we look at the talent management life cycle. because when you do recruitment, you are bringing people on board. They may have the competencies required to perform your organization. And if they do not have the competencies, you begin to look at how can you fill those gaps. Now, similar thing is found in Islam, where God Almighty, when He created us, He said, we should know Him before we can worship Him, which means farifuni qabla an ta'buduni wa man lam yarifuni fakayfa ya'budun. It means that know me before you worship me. This is not in the Quran, neither was it in the Hadith, but it's a special Hadith that we call Hadith Qudsi. It's a special Hadith that is referred to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it says, know me before you worship me. What does that mean? As employees, as HR professionals, when we are bringing up people on board, they may not have all the required competencies to perform well. So what do we need to do? We need to own their competencies by, of course, if our system, we could have done, let's say, skill assessment to know their areas of weaknesses and be able to come up with a training plan to bridge those gaps so that they can have the required competence to work in the organization. So similar thing is found in Islam, where you are required to understand the religion, update your knowledge about the religion. Same thing is found in HR practice, where we have to come up with a training plan to develop our employees to ensure that they have the required competencies for the industry we are playing in. Then let me quickly move to exit management or offboarding. Now, I should have mentioned onboarding and explain Islamic perspective on it, but let me just jump to offboarding. Now, offboarding, we are looking at if you are going as an employee, what is expected of you? What is expected of the organization? The organization, as an employee, you are expected to do handover of everything that the company has given to you to work with, tender your resignation. If it is in your letter that you are going to observe 1 month, please follow that 1 month notice. And if it is paying you want to do, ensure you do it. Because one thing about Islam is that Islam does not overlook anything agreement. Islam does not take it lightly. Anything agreement must be honored. Just like in law, we say agreement freely entered must be honored. Agreement freely entered must be honored. And when we are doing employee relations, we want to do disciplinary process. There should be fair hearing. It's a principle that is advocated strongly in Islam. There should be fair hearing. Fair hearing in the sense that whoever has been alleged to have committed an infraction, the person should be given a fair hearing, maybe through a query issued to him, let him reply. And if you are not satisfied with the reply, then set up a disciplinary panel. Let's do a cross-examination of the person and let us know if he's guilty or not. So this is a principle that is strongly advocated in Islam. There should not be injustice served to any employee. There should not, because one thing about employees in any organization is that they're just like human beings. It is easier for God. If we offend God, it is easier for God to forgive us than for God to forgive us when we offend fellow human beings, just like employees. If as HR, we are not fair with our employees, we come up with policies that is not fair with employees, or policy that is not in tandem with employment laws. We are not only, it's not only the employee it's not only the employee we are not being fair with, we are not also fair with God's commandment. Because at the end of the day, if we realize that okay, this employee that was terminated wrongfully terminated. We now realize it. Now, HR, I know at the corner of our house, we will be seeking forgiveness from God. But I can tell you, before God can forgive you, that employee must first forgive you before God can forgive you. That's why I said earlier, it is easier for us. I mean, when we offend God, it is easier for God to forgive us than when we offend fellow human being. What am I trying to say is that there is no aspect of HR practice that Islam does not touch. Mention it recruitment, mention it compensation and benefits, payway in particular. Now, when we talk about HMO, it is a welfare that Islam emphasizes that leaders in any community must put in place measures to guarantee the health of people under them. So with HMO, HMO already, of course, there's a law that regulates HMO in Nigeria, National Health Insurance Authority Act, that was reviewed in 2023 by the Buhari administration. However, this is a practice that has been in existence in Islam, and same is also replicated in Asia. So let me stop here, and I want to commend Dr. Yemi Adeosun for bringing this topic on board. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother. That was very well articulated, very well said. Again, today, ladies and gentlemen, if you like to chime in at any time, you don't have to wait till the end. That's the structure of today's session. Again, he has said a lot of beautiful things. So if you see me skip some slides or some portions, it's because I don't want to rehash some of the beautiful things he has said. Just with respect to wages and timely payment, I would just like to add one thing, that Islam also encourages profit sharing and bonuses. So as much as possible, of course, yes, we have agreed the wages or the salaries with the staff. If there is profit, consider the portion you can share with the staff, okay, and bonuses, because directly or indirectly, they contributed to helping you or helping the organization achieve this result. Just to add that perspective to that. Again, he quoted something, and I just wanted to read it here. One hadith says that no one eats better food that earned by his own labor. So there's value, for example, as an employee, where it's also very encouraged, all right? Very encouraged. And you will see Islamic businesses or businesses that are owned by Muslims, for example, must contribute to the social welfare, like a zakat. So if, for example, you are a non-Muslim, but you are in an organization that is being managed by a Muslim, and you bring some CSR initiatives, you will see the way they will support it. Or if they are pushing for CSR, they may push it more than the average organization. It is because they are seeing it as a spiritual obligation. Uncle K, you can please contribute.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adeosun, for this very insightful, paradigm-shifting seminar this evening. You will agree with me that most likely the narratives around the Islamic perspective of some of these things have been largely twisted against Islam. So thank you for bringing clarity to obscurity. I'm really trying to watch my word carefully because I know that this will go on YouTube. So you have actually done justice to this, and also to what's his name? Wali. He has also done very well. I also see some of your co-hosts, someone like Fatima Nasiru. Fatima, we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the 28th of April. Anyway, so but that's by the way. You know that Islam has these beautiful, beautiful tenets and all these things that will make any workplace a choice for any employee to be. But the reality on ground is that the normal work environment, normal workplace is built on maximizing profits against all odds and at all costs, even to the detriment of the employee. That is normal, way the so-called work has been structured to exist. And now Islam is now letting us see that there should be fairness, emphasizing on fairness, emphasizing on equity, emphasizing on justice, emphasizing on equal rights, and even telling us that your workers are your brothers. I mean, if we have just that at the back of our mind, you will treat all employees fairly. So now, how do we begin to let people see all these wonderful, wonderful tenets, perspectives, all these great things that Islam can actually, use to better the workplace? How do we now begin to bring that to the normal orientation of the workplace that is designed to maximize, utilize the employee from every means possible? That's just what I want us to actually look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your input. Very apt, well appreciated. God bless you. I'd like to call my friend and sister, Kudirat. You have the floor, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ideal Show, aka Tallest. If I have not said that, I have not called you. You pardon me. So, thank you very much for this platform. I must say, I didn't even see this notification earlier. But as soon as I saw it and I watched the time, I saw that it was just about 2 minutes after the time, and it was very timely for me to join. For one, my own is going to be that I want to appreciate you for bringing up this topical issue. I say it's topical because we tend to underplay our diversity most of the time, especially in official settings. We tend to think that the rules are written and everybody should just comply and just move with it, not minding individual differences. So I want to say that by this conceptualization of the topic of discourse today, I want to say that you have addressed the seeming diversity that we have even in our group as a HR mentorship, and I want to commend your bravery in this direction. Some people will have shied away from it. In fact, when I saw the topic, I had to maximize the picture to see who our facilitator was going to be, and I was surprised to see that is our own Dr. Adeosun that will be the lecturer for the day, and I wanted to understand the perspective that you will bring to the topic. And I will say that our brother Walio has maybe he had foreknowledge of the topic before me. Maybe I would have been able to do more too if I had seen it maybe an hour or more before now. However, I want to use this opportunity to commend you for bringing it up, and I want to say that it is important for us to start to address our diversity in an attempt to foster inclusion in every setting that we are. I also belong to a professional body that before now we see as though They're not looking at the fact that we have Muslims or people that have sentiment towards other religion in the professional body. But something very transformative and novel happened during this year Ramadan. They came up with Ramadan lecture, and sincerely it encouraged inclusion, and we all felt at home, and we can boldly then say that, oh, this is now the institute for everybody. There's a way that you get people to do what they are expected to do easily when you identify their vulnerability, if I can place it that way. When you identify that this thing is precious to this person, and you give that a little recognition without necessarily undermining the essence of that particular association or office, as it were. So it is on that premise that I would want to congratulate us as HR mentorship members for this great feat. I say it's a great feat, and I commend the efforts of the organizers. Then on the lighter note, I saw Aziza today, this evening. I will definitely discuss Dr. Adeosho. We are proud of your recent appointments, and we are proud to say that, yes, Dr. Adeosho is our classmate, and he's doing great things. We're happy with your achievements. We pray for more. Thank you for the platform. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much. Just to mention very quickly, don't mind me, that's when you meet your classmates, you feel young all of a sudden again. Alaja, even though I described her as Alaja too is a doctor. She has a PhD in economics. She's one of the youngest, latest doctors in town.
PhD in finance.
In finance. And I know the cousin on well. PhD in finance. We did economics together. She works in the bank, ladies and gentlemen. And that's quickly
Doctor.
Yes, please.
Sorry, if I may, I think I did some reminiscing on what I just chipped in just a short while ago.
Okay.
I think what can also help is if we as HR practitioners have an open mindset, not a fixated mindset, not a closed mindset, not the one that has prejudice. I think if we have an open mindset, the type that will be all embracing to different perspective that can help us become better on the job. That will help us in a way to be able to draw in some of these ways that Islam has actually laid out that will help us become even better person, even beyond what the contemporary workplace dictates that we do. So first thing is let's have an open mindset. Let's have a warm mindset, devoid of prejudice, that can take in different views and have different views, and then look at the one that you believe that will be best interest to the employee and even to the organization. It will go a long way to helping us to adapt to become a better person. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just to chip in, I remember somebody reached out to me when these flyers went out. So different people reached out for different reasons. But let's leave the reasons. But one of them was not like trying to say, in Yoruba language, that which one is Islamic perspective to HR. I said, because you've not had it before doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I told that particular person, a senior HR person, I said, look, thank God my classmate, my colleague is here, Dr. Kudirat. I said, they taught us a course, I think 200 level, if I'm not mistaken, or 300 level, or both levels. They call it History of Economic Thought. Alaja, you are here. And in that history of economic thought, they taught us, for example, contributions of Islam to the different facets of economics, and of course, contributions of the church, Catholic Church, Protestants, and so on and so forth. And look, the society as it is today, religion, generally speaking, has huge contribution. There are some things today that people don't know that is either from the Bible or Quran or something. And if you don't have that appreciation, you will just think you are doing things for doing sake. You will not be able to understand and appreciate and then even improve. And that is why and where what my brother has said here, Uncle K, the open-mindedness. And thank God we are scholars. For those of us that started this session today, I told you that the first professor of Islamic and Arabic studies in Nigeria is a Christian. He was a Christian, so it's not a Muslim that became a Christian, no, because some people would think, maybe, no, he didn't. He had always been a Christian, did the course, studied it, and pursued it to PhD and became a professor. And that's what education does to you. So, like, if tomorrow, I'm just saying, we say the 5 principles for HR, you'll be shocked that you may pick 1 or 2 things. You may not necessarily agree with everything, but there'll be 2, 3 things all right. So very quickly, what we call and leadership.
Okay, I think doctor's network stream out. I believe we'll be joining immediately.
I
Yes,
apologize.
that's fine.
That was a network showing me shaggy. And that's one of the reasons why I needed a co-host, just in case. All right, so we've spoken about work-life balance, and let me quickly chip this in, and this is intentional. And again, I'll speak to the non-Muslims on this call or who may be watching this video. There are certain things, let me give you 2 or 3 things quickly, and other people too can contribute here. We are technically at the twilight of this presentation. We don't have a case study, there's time we'll look at it. You see, I've seen a few people, note a few, I didn't say many people, who complain like, maybe when some people on Friday, they go to mosque, they stay too long, some people don't come back, or some people say, they go and pray. Look, if you look at life generally, I was asking Fatima, just to be sure, that on the average, how long does it take to pray in the afternoon, that afternoon prayers? Maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes, or 10 minutes. Now, the general prayer window time is when? 1 to 2. Doesn't necessarily have to be exactly 1 or exactly. And when is the average organization's lunch hour or break? It typically ranges from maybe like 12 to 3. Why should that be a problem to anybody? After all, even today, we will say that people should not sit on their computer continuously, endlessly. So even if they go and pray, why shouldn't you be happy with that? And how is that disturbing work? And that's all things being equal. If you have a balanced workforce, so everybody will not be Muslims, and so it's not as if you are shutting down the banking or because people want to go and pray. Another thing I want to chip in quickly here is that, and on one of our groups, I mentioned it there too, is the fact that when we plan programs, so for example, take training or retreats, please put the intentional with breaks. So there should be maybe a break. Your lunch out break should be maybe 1 to 2. You don't necessarily need to call it prayer break. You can even say biological break. Whatever anybody wants, they can now go and use that break time for it. But be intentional. As HR, don't come and, you do, maybe sometimes we go for all these 2-3 days retreats, maybe in a hotel, typically at the end of the year, that kind of a thing. Please, when you work with your management, that, okay, if we are doing this retreat, is from maybe Thursday to Saturday, say on Friday, maybe 12:30 to 2:30, long break to math. 4 o'clock, 15 minutes biological break, maybe 7 o'clock, then 8 o'clock prayer. Put it in the agenda. Drive it home. Again, I have not said you should call it prayer break. But if you check the spacing of those prayers, they are far and in between, and it's even decent from an health and safety perspective for us to go on break. But as HR, I won't mention him, I was in a particular meeting not too long ago, and they were planning a major program, and they selected the date and everybody had ratified the date. And I raised up my hand at that meeting. I said, please, I don't agree. I agree with the day, but I don't agree with the time. Everybody was taken aback because all the senior people on that platform and agreed to the date and time. I said, how can we start this conference at 12 o'clock on Friday and end at 3? Aren't Muslims going to pray? Do you know that everybody became quiet? Everybody now said, okay. So I said, I don't have a problem with Friday, don't get me wrong. So can we do, for example, 9 to 12? Eventually, thankfully, they moved it to Thursday and still now maintained. Do you understand? But 1, 2, 3 Muslims reached out to me and said, thank you for watching out for us. One of them said, I had the same complaint, but I didn't want to make it look like until today. So please, all these things are factors that are part of this work-life balance. You will be shocked that even if you're in those kind of meetings and so let's take this and you encourage people, please check your organization, depending on whether you own the facility. It's not too much to make a place designated for prayer. Please, it's not a luxury. It's not too much. Please, you can create the space. I remember, and I mentioned this, I used to work in the Keja Electric. We had a mosque and a chapel, even though I know that maybe it's because it used to be old NEPA. And the mosque and chapel were directly beside each other. You understand? When you encourage your people, there's some help in the organization that from the mosque group, the fellowship group, people provide additional support and succor in a way that the organization or the HR may not even be able to support. So when you do those kind of things, you are creating better work-life balance. Ladies and gentlemen, whether we agree to it or not, our spirituality forms a great component of our work-life balance. The prophet said, your body has a right over you. Here is emphasizing rest. Okay, please let us manage workload very well so that people can get support. I won't overflog this, but especially those of us who started this journey today with us, we've mentioned termination and layoff. And thank God for my brother who also chimed in very rigorously. Islam frowns at reckless layoffs or reckless job sack or sacking people. The reason is there are consequences. For every man or woman who holds a job today, even think if the person has children, look at their children or their parents, aged parents, or their younger siblings. So make sure that if it has to happen, it must be justified. One, it must be done with dignity, and you must consult and engage. So don't treat the person like a criminal. I'm not talking about a fraud situation, or I'm talking of people, maybe someone has committed 5 years, 10 years, 2 years. Please, if maybe, so to speak, the business has gone bad, call the relevant affected party, engage as much as possible. Please, a severance package, if you can afford it, knowing that once you let this person go now, how will this person survive in the next 3 months or 6 months? Yes, I know no matter what you give, you may not be able to settle them for the rest of their life, but think about the transition. Even if you can't do a lot of things, even if you say, take this, take that. So let's be creative. For example, speaking as HR, normal HR, I've been in places where when we had to let one or two people go, I made a case to the management that let's retain them on HMO for 1 year. This person has young children. And they were very thankful for it. Okay. So Islam encourages financial support during transitions. Be as generous as you can afford. All right. Sudden terminations without notice are seen as what? Unethical. All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any maybe misconceptions you want to clarify or you want to share insights on, or you want to ask a question, please you are free to ask. You can also type. Please be as professional as you can be. At least you can see the tone of the conversation from the beginning till the end. So I just saw this case study, just run us very quickly. So there's a bank in Malaysia. Okay, it's called Bank Islam Malaysia Bahad, BIMB. It was established in 1983. It's Malaysia's first and largest Sharia compliant bank. So Malaysia is a largely Muslim country, maybe 90%, if not more. Right? And they have a large population. This particular bank has over 4,000 employees, and they integrate Islamic HRM principles into their corporate culture, ensuring compliance with Sharia while maintaining high employee satisfaction and business performance. Okay, don't forget that it also operates in a country that is largely Islamic. It's Islamic, all right. So, and some of the things we've been talking about, they put it in practice. They do blind recruitments. For example, when they are doing their recruitment in this particular bank, they remove names and gender so that the people that is managing the recruitment are not judging people either based on, oh, this name sounds like a Yoruba name or Igbo name or Hausa name, or this, okay, this name is Musa, is a Muslim, or this name is Felix, is a Christian. You know, they try to avoid all that kind of a thing. They deal in a merit-based promotion, all right. They have policies around anti-harassment. They train their employees on respect, mutual respect, wellness program. And this organization, they won Best Employer in Malaysia. Oh, and this Best Employer in Malaysia award was given to them by the local HR body there. So it wasn't just any kind of, to show that they have results. You know, they do necessary mandatory business ethics. They have a whistleblowing. And one of the things is that in that the organization, they have over 80% employee participation in a CSR, and they have very near zero fraud cases, which is something that is phenomenal because of the kind of training, indoctrination, and culture that they've been able to build. They leverage collective decision making, which is that consultation. All right. They have monthly employee town hall meetings. They are also able to submit proposals anonymously. Okay. Management discuss feasible proposals, and as much as possible, they work around this flat hierarchy. Junior employees or staff can directly approach senior leaders with suggestions, and they've seen improvement, process improvement originating from employee feedback, because there's no class or status to these things. They have the high innovative culture. For example, some of the things they've come up with in that bank, winning mobile apps developed from staff ideas, right? They have flexible work arrangements in that particular organization. They are quite compassionate. If people have to go for any reason, their severance package ranges from 3 to 6 months, depending on how long they have stayed. Guess what? In 2023, they had just 2% turnover, and quite a number of their staff that even left voluntarily have ended up becoming either their partner or customers. And the good thing about this thing is that even non-Islamic firms, organizations can adopt all this practice or most of all this practice, okay? Because if you look at it, you will see the situation where it is beneficial to humanity, it is beneficial to the organization, it is beneficial to the client. All right. So Islamic HRM is not just about compliance, it's about building organizations that honor human dignity while achieving what? Business success, right? It's a balance that is desperately needed. I like that. A balance that is what? Look at that word. Desperately needed in today's profit-driven corporate world. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I see Wali's hands and any other person. Wali, you have the floor. So we are now in Q&A and contributions in the next 10 minutes.
All right, Dr. Yemi. All right, Dr. Yemi, thank you for taking us this far. I quickly want to add something regarding work-life balance. I think the first person that started the idea of a work-life balance is God himself. Why did I say this? In the Bible made us to understand that God used 6 days to create the world and other objects in it, and used the 7th day to rest. God, in his infinite mercies, if God still wants to continue even in the 7th day, God definitely will continue, because God has the power of God is not limited. However, God wants us to understand something by resting on the 7th day. God wants us to understand that as human beings, our body has a right on us, which means at a point, your body will feel weak, will feel tired. And what does that mean? You need to rest. And when we look at our labor law in Nigeria, the current labor act, it is specifically stated there that at least an employee must observe a complete day of rest in a week. Not only that, an hour break is also stated in the Labor Act that an employee must observe in a day, or after 4 hours of work, an employee must observe an hour break in a day. So all these things are telling us that God himself already has a design for us on how we have to work. We should work in a way that we will create time for ourselves to rest, and at the same time will not jeopardize the interests of the organization. And that is why God laid that perfect example by resting on the 7th day. Like I said earlier, if God wants to continue on the 7th day, God's power is not limited. God will continue. But he wants to lay an example for us. And that is why he rests on the 6th day. Thank you. I am done, Dr. Yemi.
It's as if Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun is having challenge with his
Okay, I
internet.
think Dr. Adeosun's internet has gone off.
Thank you so much.
So, I mean, everyone has said. Hello, Dr. Adeosun. Hello.
You can continue, Aderele. Continue. I'll speak after you.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I mean, everyone has said, has contributed beautifully, right? But my take or my contribution would be that the summary of all this is tolerance. Right? If anyone has attended the classes I teach with Dr. Adio, the sought after consultancy class with HR for beginners, is this: human, much as policies are laid down, right, we should always remember to put that human touch to those policies. Even the part of the Bible says that man was not made for the law, law was made for the man. It applies in our places of work too, right? So when you when you feel or you deem it possible to ensure that that human touch, that human feeling has to be imbibed in whatever you do, or you're like, how you make that decision, think about it. How will my decision impact this person? I read a story earlier today where a man terminated a woman, and he terminated her based on the policy that once you are absent for 3 days without notice, you get terminated. And immediately the woman, she didn't argue, she left. And the man said here in whispers that, oh, did you hear about this woman's son? This woman's son has been ill. And the man did a little digging and found out that the woman had just one son and was recently divorced and never had a place to stay. So what was she doing? She was sleeping in her car. She wakes up in the morning, goes to another side of town. She and the child go to a church, have their bath before taking him to school and coming to work. Because of that, that was why she was late. She struggled to ensure that she wasn't late, but because of that, she was late. Now the man realized, oh, he never did the due diligence of why is this woman late? And then he goes to look for her, and then, long story short, he was able to bring her back to work and sort things out. So, I mean, a lot of us are Christian, you might be Christians on this call. The Muslims among us, there are certain things that they do that sometimes I know it might affect during work hours and whatnot, but be considerate of their religion. Be considerate, because that one person that, because you want to be strict about the policy, might just be that 1 hour needed for him to get clarity of thought while he communes with his God. When he communes with his God, he gets a clarity of thought, and that clarity of thought is what he's supposed to use to come back to provide solutions to your organization, and you deny him that fact. What happens? The fact that your stringent policies has affected someone's productivity has also reduced your own productivity.
Thank you so much. I see my sister, Madam Kausara Abdul Karim. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so very much, Doctor, and thank you for everyone on this call. The number may not be much, but the impact is inestimable. And I can tell, I joined so late. I joined when Dr. Kudirat, I can't remember, said your classmate. I had to check her up on LinkedIn. I was so impressed with what she said. It was as if she was just capturing everything that I missed, actually. And we know, Doctor, we discussed this, and you said something that really took me, that not hearing about a topic before does not mean the topic does not exist. And that is why we are always researching, and that's why we are always doing further studying. And that's a very good one. I'm so impressed to have like the last 20 minutes to listen to all the remaining parts of the lecture. This simply tells us that we are just talking about diversity and inclusion. Simply that. We are talking about, we can't separate what our spirituality, our beliefs from our career. People will say, don't bring your religion here. Don't bring this here. No, it's not faith-based. No, we are human. There is not how we want to separate the two. And our ability and readiness to embrace and accept every other person's faith. That is even when that cooperation, collaboration, coexistence happens. If we don't realize it now, then we are going to be living in danger in our offices. Interestingly, I happen to be the only Muslim in my team, and I have a team of 6, and I happen to be the only Muslim. They may all be reporting to me, And I have the all opportunity to say, no, I'm your head, and I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to accept that. I allow them to give me all their church programs so that they can fix in their leave during those periods. Sometimes they tell me how. I will say, oh, August, oh, so person, this is your redeem time. Oh, please, oh, put your leave there. Oh. I will allow all of them to plug their leave in the calendar. One has 1 week something. Somebody is even going to Celestia in my team. I was okay, you always have your program around October. You said, madam, how do you know? Because we just have to listen. You want productivity. We want people to be happy. We don't have time. Our 24 hours has already been taken. Our calendars are fixed and blocked. We just have to listen to the unspoken words. Well, a lot of leaders listen to the above the line issues. There are a lot of below the line issues that make them happy beyond salaries, that makes them happy beyond promotion. There are a lot of issues. I look at my staff that need to have a me time with their children. It's a week me time. We have to plan it. Do you want to work from home? So the next me time is the next married woman that will be doing that in my team. So we have to just listen to those things and do. So there is no how we want to separate ourselves from our religion. There is no how we want to separate ourselves from those ethical issues. We don't need to go and study it in the university. Both religion has specified it clearly. If you are able to read the Quran and read the Bible, all the ethical issue we are having in organization today will not exist any longer. I'm so happy that you are doing this, and it's even more interesting that it's coming from you, so that people will really appreciate that if you don't even know what your religion says about your career, this is what your religion says about your career. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. And I'm going to reference this topic. I want to do more on this because this is just like a challenge to me. That this is the first time I know Islamic finance, Islamic economics. I'm hearing Islamic HR. I say, which one is Islamic HR? But you are able to simplify it to say, we are just talking about diversity and inclusion here. We are just talking about ethical issues, simply put. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be on this call tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your insights and for your kind words. And my closing remarks before Fatima, you will do the final closing remark, please. Fatima Nasiru, please. My own closing remarks, let's just be more inclusive and sensitive to some of the things we do. Let me give an example that I mentioned on one of the groups. And, on one group, I mentioned it because even when I shared flyer, a conversation broke out around why we should be doing the topic. So, but it's okay. It's one of the things we learn every day. So I said, I used to work in a place where, for example, during Christmas, you know the time I'm talking about. So we do Christmas chicken, rice. We have to now change the name from Christmas whatever to year end, because we brought it to the attention of the manager and the board that, hey, we need to do this and this and this. But notice something, in December, what happens to salary? Even organizations that pay on the 25th, for some organizations, some maybe 28, 30, you will notice that almost customarily, many organizations, even government, federal government and state government, they will try to come and pay maybe 18, 19. And I was working in 2, 3 places that, guess what? For example, the month of Ramadan, we pay the salary of that month before the end of the fast. During Salah, same thing. Please, you may think it's up to, but once you are doing something on one hand, on the other hand, thank God Kudirat is here. In economics, we say on one hand, then on the other hand. You may not be doing it consciously. Maybe you are the HR, you met it that way. That something has always run in a particular way. You can innovate, say, if we pay this one, somebody say, but for Easter, we don't pay it on time. Well, if you choose, you can begin to pay it too upfront. But these are part of the inclusion we are talking about. I've worked in places during Salah, the management will buy RAM and share. So they may not be able to buy one RAM, one staff because of the cost. They will buy bring it to workplace, arrange for professionals, they pray, they treat it, clean it, cut it. All of us take our portion and our share. Somebody was also mentioning on the group yesterday how, how some organizations, they do hamper during Christmas. Again, we're not trying to, what's the word now? We're not trying to say what you do for first wife, do for second wife. But we're trying to say, look at how it is. The same way we give people joy as an organization around Christmas, give this joy too around Salah, around Ramadan period. And this is not an advert. Well, I won't mention the brand name, but there's a particular milk, them. See the way during the fasting period, see the way they branded their advert. You will think that milk is a Muslim as a product. But check, during Easter, that same milk will turn to what? Then during Christmas. And analogy from that milk product is whatever makes sense to your employees and to your colleagues, as long as it is not against any law of the land. If you embrace it, you can leverage on it and get better employee engagement, drive better motivation, drive more productivity. So let's try and do more. The last thing I'll say, I'm saying this very carefully. For those of us that have staff canteen, tell your kitchen or your vendor, as they are cooking everything, they should also have what we call halal compliant food. Some people, they'll just cook orishi meat, put everything the same pot, say no. Maybe if you are doing bacon, blah, 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 pork related, have it separate. Don't worry, caterers don't have a problem. Just give them the instruction. They know how to separate all these things. And go to any tier 1 hotel or restaurant. They have, I remember when I went to Egypt for the first time, they had last segment, so they are not stopping anybody. But you even realize that most of the halal things are even close to this healthy living diet and so on and so forth. Look, let me say this in wrapping up my submission. See what my sister said now. In a team of 7, she's the only Muslim. Don't say, even in an organization where they are the minority, if you think about them and you make special arrangement and provision for them, I put it to you that for every X that you spend to make that extra provision, they will give you 10X back in appreciation and in productivity. I hope I've been able to say one or two things that we find useful and relatable.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Don't worry, Dr. Kuda, I will share the slide with you. I'll give you the slide. Fatima, please, come and have the closing remark, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor. This topic was really, really insightful. Thank you. Thank you to everyone that contributed, from Dr. Khadija to Nkuke, Madam Kausara, every other person that said one or two things, Walio, and even those that commented in the chat, because I was literally reading the chat and I could see that people were feeling it. Like, it's actually even brought more insight to our daily life, work-life balance, and other things. And I'm so happy that some of these things relating to justice, compassion, and fairness was even mentioned, because really, this is work life is our life, because we literally spend most of our daily activities at work. And how you feel, how you are treated at work really goes a long way to your normal life. So I'm so happy that this topic has really covered everything, because this is literally about life. And it was really insightful. Thank you so much, Doctor. As we've learned this, please let's continue to explore and learn from each other and foster a community that values diversity and inclusion. This is very, very, very important, because Madam Kausar said something about being the only Muslim and she's the boss. Imagine if the experience was otherwise. The next thing you will say is, oh, those Muslims, my Muslim boss, and it will start to go in a negative way. Most times people, especially when it comes to Islam and Muslims, our experience, we owe it to the religion, not even to that person. It becomes an Islamic thing, not even knowing that what Islam even says about this is so much positive. It talks everything goes around being positive. What we've said today, if we apply it, literally everyone will be happy coming to work. Work life will be good. Even the employers will get it, because as an employee now, one of the value is give your employer his time. Understand your employer. And if you are literally doing this, your KPIs will be met. Meaning whatever performance that is expected of you would be met. So thank you so much, doctor, and every other person. Thank you for your time. I hope that we really share this slide, this video to everyone, so people can learn. Even it's not even about Islam right now. It's just about work integration, how we relate to work, which is of value to everyone. So it's not a topic that is for the Muslims. No, this is for everyone, and literally making everyone's life better. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Doctor, there's a question. There's a question on the chat box by Tuchuku,
Okay.
and he was asking about, now that we know the practices, now that we know what is right, how do we need to implement this in our organization? It's simple. We are not going to our organization to talk about the Bible. We are not going there to talk about the Quran. No, we are just going there to behave and to bring up some set of habits that will know when people see us, they also want to join us. It is not everything we can change, but we can actually be the change that we want people to see in us. Let's start fairness. Let's start justice. Let's start balancing and integrate what we need to integrate. Let people see us as good examples. Let's lead by example. Those are the only thing we need to do. We are not going to the work to work to talk about Bible or to talk about Quran, but let's just be the change that we want to see in the organization. That would be my response to that.
Thank you so much. 10 over 10. No additional comments.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Okay. Let me just do one tiny shout out to all the Christians that joined this call. Thank you. I'm saying thank you intentionally. Thank you. Because it shows you are open-minded and you are willing to learn. Please. Thank you for joining. And to my Muslim brothers and sisters, thank you. You probably know a lot, but yet you are willing to join tonight, even if it is to glean one or two additional insights. Again, you are also willing and humble to learn from a non-Muslim, come share around Islam. That's extreme humility.
That's impressive.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome, Alaji
extreme.
Adeosun. Dr. Adeosun. You're welcome.
Yes, we're
Thank
adding
you.
that to his name. Yes, I'm
Thank you.
challenged. Alaji Dr. Adeosun. Yes.
You will
So
pay
what
me
I've
for this
done-
title I have conferred on you. We will see for Ibadan.
So what I've done immediately on
No,
the
let's just
Zoom,
let's just contribute money for the next Umrah for him. We'll
Absolutely.
just contribute
Absolutely.
this money
We
for
are
next
sending him to
Umrah
Saudi
for him,
Arabia.
so he can just collect
Yes.
the allergy.
no, Allah.
It deserves,
No,
it deserves.
Yeah. So the slide, I've uploaded it on the Zoom call. I have never done this before, at least I can't remember, but I've uploaded it. So it's on the Zoom chat now. You can download it. The slides is on the Zoom. I've downloaded
Fantastic.
it, but you can still reach out to me privately in case for any reason. So the slide is right now. You can download. The video will be uploaded tonight, latest by tomorrow. If not tonight, I will also circulate it. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining and for your beautiful contributions.
Good night, sir.